It's been a very busy past few weeks as many brands are releasing a new generation of flagship smartphones that are equipped with the latest chipsets that were just announced in October. Yeah, the time gap is really short compared to what we had previously. Now, the OPPO Find X8 Pro is unique because OPPO region locked the Find X6 and X7 and only returning to the global market this time with the Find X8 series. I have really high hopes for this phone too, since there are quite a lot of hype around it. Before we talk about the phone though, please do subscribe as I spent the past weeks testing these devices constantly to ensure that my tests are done as thoroughly as possible. So your support really does help us out a lot. Now let's talk about the design. The OPPO Find X8 Pro comes in two different colors, space black and also pearl white, which is what we have here. This pearl white is very unique as every unit of the Find X8 Pro with this color will have a different reflection pattern, so it is randomized and unique to every single device. I really like how it feels in my hand as well. It is covered by a matte finish and the frame is also in a matte finish. The entire back curves into the frame and then curves into the screen as well, and it just feels very nice to touch and hold. Now let's talk about the screen first. The OPPO Find X8 Pro comes with a 6.78-inch OLED screen with a higher than usual 2780 by 1264 pixels in resolution and goes up to 120Hz refresh rate. It also curves around all the sides, making it look very premium. And it also has a screen protector applied from the factory, but good luck finding a replacement screen protector to cover the entire glass because tempered glass and curvatures like this, it's gonna be very challenging. Either way, the screen's maximum brightness is only up to 1150 nits in SDR mode, but it shoots up to around 1550 nits in HDR mode. There are three different color modes available, so let's go through them one by one. In its default out-of-the-box color profile, it can achieve 98.37% of sRGB and 73.04% of DCI-P3 color gamuts. Pretty standard, and the colors aren't extremely vivid as well. We can then turn on the Pro color profile, which improves both color gamut coverage by a bit, but nothing too drastic. Then we have one more color profile here called Vivid. This one is gonna push the color gamut coverage even further, and it can cover 100% of sRGB and 99% of DCI-P3. The delta E number also increased as well, but it is still way below 2.0. Overall, this screen here is done nicely, just that the brightness is a bit low in comparison with other displays in this league of smartphones. One of the things that I have to complain about is the location of that fingerprint scanner. Why is it so low? This is just not ergonomic to use at all. But of course, we have to talk about the performance. The OPPO Find X8 Pro is using the latest MediaTek Dimensity 9400, and OPPO did a very good job tuning this chip to ensure that it runs cool and still provide enough performance while gaming. I did the 3D Mark Extreme Wildlife stress test and found out that, hey, this phone only has a very conservative thermal limit of 41 degrees Celsius. That is very low considering that smartphones from the 8 Gen 3 era were throttling hard at 47 degrees Celsius. So I did the gaming test video for this phone, and thanks everyone for watching that video. Link is down in the description below. We showed that the frame rate is nearly 60 FPS all of the time in Genshin Impact 5.1, and the thermal limit is still only at 41 degrees Celsius. I mean, if we're getting such performance and yet the chip is only at 41 degrees Celsius, it's actually amazing. We can definitely feel some warmth when we hold the phone in our hands, but it is very mild. Other games also perform great, like Xenozone Zero, which ran at the highest graphical settings and managed around 50 FPS and above in an intensive boss fight. Once again, the temperature is only at 41 degrees Celsius at most. Some games like COD Warzone also run stably at 60 FPS as well, so I have no complaints at all. One thing to note is that COD Warzone is a very weird game because once you enter spectator mode, the frame rate will automatically drop to 30 FPS. So that is why this part of the gaming test video, COD Warzone, is at 30 FPS. Honestly speaking though, I do think that OPPO is throttling the performance hard by setting a thermal limit to just 41 degrees Celsius. a lot of performance of the Dimensity 9400 is going to waste. But then again, in our gaming test video, we've shown that the experience is actually still very good. It's stable and there are no significant frame drops due to thermal throttling. And I think this is a very good balance, and it reminds me of the good old days of the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. Perhaps we'll talk about the comparisons between the latest Dimensity 9400 and the Snapdragon 8 Elite in a future video. So let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Now, it is time to also now talk about the battery life. You see, the Dimensity 9400 is using the same concept as the Dimensity 9300. There are no efficiency cores. And this time around, the Dimensity 9400 is using a single Cortex X925, which is the latest prime performance core, triple Cortex X4 cores, which are the prime cores of the last generation, and 4 more Cortex A720 cores. And I'm not sure why MediaTek went for the A720 when the new Cortex A725 was announced alongside with the Cortex X925. Either way, we locked the screen resolution and refresh rate to its highest, then locked it down to 100 nits brightness and did the PCMark battery life test. This phone, with its 5910 mAh battery or 22.88 Wh, will last for around 18 hours. It's actually very good and can last you throughout one full day or more with just one charge. The charging speed is where things get interesting. We're getting this OPPO 80 watts Super VOOC charger in the box, except for EU, which is actually a good thing, and we'll talk about it in a little while. Now, using this included charger in the box, we can charge from 15% to completion in about 52-ish minutes. Pretty standard, and it can even go faster because it doesn't actually take in 80 watts in its default mode. To make it go even faster, we'll have to go into the settings menu to enable Smart Rapid Charging option. Then we can make it charge even faster at the expense of battery temperature. It will still take about the same time to actually complete the charging, but it can reach the 80% mark much faster. Even if you do turn on the Smart Rapid Charging option though, the maximum temperature before it starts throttling the charging speed is at 37.5 degrees Celsius. Again, very conservative, as I've seen other phones going up to about 42.5 degrees Celsius when the fastest charging speed is enabled. However, if you want to use the OPPO 80 watt Super VOOC fast charging, you will need to use OPPO's own charger and cable, hence it is a proprietary charging speed. Back to the EU part once more. This is going to be funky because essentially there is a special version of the Find X8 series for EU folks that supports 55 watts of USB PD PPS, also known as 11 volts 5 amps. For us here who are non-EU folks, we are only getting 33 watts of USB PD PPS, also known as 11 volts and 3 amps. I'm not sure why OPPO didn't just make all of the OPPO Find X8 Pro to support up to 55 watts of USB PD PPS, but either way, our unit here, when we do our test, it will take up to 25 watts at most via USB PD PPS and will take around 62-ish minutes to charge from 15% to completion. Only a tad bit slower compared to the default charging speed. That's actually amazing. EU folks should be getting slightly faster charging speeds through USB PD PPS, though I don't think it will be that much faster. Either way, I gotta thank the EU for mandating a common charger for all devices and also having the option to purchase a new device with or without a charger. This forces companies like OPPO to adopt open standards like USB PD PPS charging standard, and that's just a win for everyone. So now, it doesn't really matter if you want to pay OPPO for their Super VOOC charger and cable or not. You can just use USB PD PPS chargers and power banks, and you can fast charge your devices. As for the software, this phone is running on ColorOS 15 on top of Android 15, and this version of ColorOS has very smooth animations, though I do think that it is a bit too slow. There are also many parts of the phone that just looks like its competitor, like the Aqua Dynamics. I mean, even though they do look similar, OPPO has its own set of specialties as well. I just can't shake that feeling of similarity when I look at this kind of interface. The overall functionality is pretty similar to what we had before and injected with more AI features. There is gonna be a photo remaster, productivity tool like AI writing, AI summary that literally summarizes an entire web page, AI speak that reads the entire document or web page to us, all of those stuff. And it can continue reading when we turn off the screen, by the way. They are certainly useful, and I constantly use these AI summary features to skip all of the ads on a website as well, so those features are great. There is also an alert slider at the left side as well, and I really like this feature even though I leave my phone on silent forever. And specifically for the OPPO Find X8 Pro, we have 5 generations of Android OS upgrades and 6 years of security patches. Now let's talk about the cameras. For the OPPO Find X8 Pro, we have a total of 4 different cameras this time around. 2 of them are using periscope lenses, and the 73mm lens has a fancy W-shaped light path to reach the sensor. Not sure why they opted for this, but the aperture is still at a large f2.6, and that is surprising. I'm just not a fan of this humongous camera bump though. Seriously, why is everyone going for this unoriginal design with a massive glass covering all of the lenses in the middle here? I don't know. But how's the picture quality though? Actually pretty good. The color consistency between all of the 4 cameras and the details are just fantastic. The color science is a bit darker compared to what I'm seeing with my own eyes, but it's overall very close to reality. Indoors or outdoors, it's very good and balanced. Night shots though, they usually look good, though sometimes if I do take a zoom night shots, it's very difficult to stabilize. One more thing that I think I should highlight is the extreme difficulty to stabilize the shot at 120 times zoom. That AI zoom lock thing is just not that good in terms of locking the subject that I want to zoom in and shoot. I also took a 135mm portrait shot, and here's the result. Yes, it's an unflattering image of JD's sleeping face, but this picture is taken very quickly. By the way, let's not forget about the quick button. This is a pressure sensitive button that also has a capacitive strip at the top. We can double press it to bring up the camera app, then swipe to adjust the zoom on the fly. By default, I find it to be a bit too quote-unquote stiff, but we can hit into the camera settings menu and change the pressure sensitivity down or up. As for the videography part, this OPPO Find X8 Pro can take up to 4K 60fps videos, and I think it looks great even for night videos. There are definitely some jitters if we are walking around with it while filming. There is also yet another option to enable the Ultra Steady mode that crops the video a little bit, but the recording is still at 4K 60fps, though it does introduce more jittering if we are walking around with it. Otherwise, the video quality at night is actually very good. It's also worth noting that OPPO has a collaboration with Blackmagic Design, but that is coming later, so we can't talk about that for now. We now have a few more things to mention about this phone. It comes with a USB 3.0 port at the bottom, so copying files in and out of the phone is super fast. This port also supports DisplayPort out mode, so we can plug in to a monitor and have display output as well. It also has dual SIM card support, but no microSD card, audio jack, or anything like that. It does, however, still have an IR blaster at the top. So, should you buy the OPPO Find X8 Pro? Actually, yes, I can recommend this phone. It's a good all-rounder package with great specs with great performance, even though it is thermally limited to only 41 degrees Celsius. The cameras are also good, even though they can look a bit dull at times since it is closer to reality and sometimes reality is just that boring. The phone also looks great and feels great to hold, but I'm really not a fan of this camera bump. At the price of 4,999 ringgit, it is definitely creeping up to the ultra flagships of the world. While OPPO's ColorOS introduces a lot of features and a new animation engine, it still has bloatware like this Find Easy that automatically launches when we double press the power button, and this setting cannot be changed. Let's not forget about the ad market that doesn't offer anything special at all. There are also ads pushed to us via the notifications, but I have already disabled it manually. So it is up to you if this is a good phone or not. We've shown you our findings and the price, so if you like it, go buy one. I'll leave you links down in the description below, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Yeah, goodbye.